And welcome back to Praggers Gaming. I'm Gamer Praggers, and this is Citizen Sleeper. In the last episode, we helped Ankita, and she has now left. Yeah. Excuse me. It's difficult to say what else we can say to that, really. Okay, so we need the griots. Okay, so we'll do that in the next cycle. For now, we will farm some griots. Okay, so if we go to the Hyperdome and self-repair and end the cycle. We do have enough Matsutakis that we can go and sell them. Those aren't great dice, but what we can do is use a 2 to get some energy back. There we go. Right then. So episode Flux is the first of 3 episodic updates to Citizen Sleeper, telling the story of the refugee flotilla which has arrived at the Eye. All 3 episodes, Flux, Refuge and Purge, are now available. Completing the supply griots action will begin this episode, but beware that it is intended for late game play. Before we do that though, we do have 3 upgrade points. So we can take a +2 on interface or intuit, or we can go to +2 on hard to kill, which is endure. Let's go for +2 on that. There we go. Right then. Esh sees you coming up the broken spoke and waves you into the cavernous bay of the climbing briar. You came. Peak smiles as you walk into the climbing briar's cargo hold behind a gloomy Esh. They brought mushrooms. Esh tosses the mushroom caps onto a crate, raising her eyebrows at Peak. Peak gives her a look. Thank you, Sleeper. They pick one up and sniff it. Are these edible? Try it. Peak squints at you in the mushroom before delicately putting it back down. I'll wait. We're not so used to fresh produce. Ash is securing crates as she speaks and doesn't look up. Hawthorne doesn't have much in the way of farming. Hawthorne? The installation we grew on. Ash wipes off her hands on a rag. XPR loves to name their property after natural things, but that's about as far as their relationship with plant life goes. XPR? This an interrogation? She glares. Either way, we're done with that place, which is all you need to know. Ash leans back against the crate she was securing. We're gonna need more than a few mushrooms if we want to help those refugees, though. Why are they trapped? You tell me. It's your station administration that set up the cordon. Peak gives Ash a look. Sorry, she looks at Peak. I know this isn't on you. Ash stands and walks over to the mushrooms you bought, placing them into a small container with care. The problem isn't just getting supplies, it's getting them through to the ships. Can't you speak to Havenage? We aren't exactly welcome guests, Peak explains. If anyone figures out that we came in with the refugee ships, we'll be quarantined as well. Why is there a quarantine? Peak jumps in. The Eye has a closed-loop life support system. Just like any orbital installation, any unfamiliar illness or significantly increased strain on life support could cause a cascading collapse in its systems. Ash scoffs. Are we making excuses for these bureaucrats now? Peak turns. We are being realistic, Ash. But these people aren't an increased strain. They are living people. Ash stares at you. Even calling them refugees is just a way of turning a lot of scared, desperate people into a single monolithic group. Ash slides the container full of mushrooms into one of the cargo hold's racks. Look, as much as I'd like to chat, we've still got a lot of space to fill in this hole, so if you're going to help... I think Ash is trying to say we need your help, and quickly. Peak says, glancing at her, the refugees behind the cordon, they won't be able to hold out indefinitely. We need to get supplies to them in the next 12 cycles, or... Ash steps forward. Or Havenage will have to bear the responsibility for whatever happens next. What can I do? There's 3 things we still need to secure. Water, food, and scrap components for ship repairs. Ash gestures to the storage containers around the hold. Water we can find a way to source. Or, my preference, just siphon off from the underground reservoirs in the Greenway. Peak raises his eyebrows. Ash? She ignores them. For food, things could be tricky. Those mushrooms are delicious, I'm sure, but no way we can get enough volume to defeat a flotilla. However, I saw an algae stack on the way over. If we can get access, not more stealing, Ash. Peak sighs. I didn't say steal. She stares at them indignantly. If we can get access, we can work the stack, harvest some algae from the flotilla. Those stacks churn up vast quantities in short timescales. And the repair components? Peak asks tentatively. Ash smiles. Just look around you, Peak. This whole place is made of scrap. She shoots you a glance. And I'm sure the Sleeper has their sources. They can bring them right here. We get everything before time runs out? Perfect. We get most of it? Also good. Either way, in 12 cycles, I'm going to take what we have and go. But how will you get through? Ash shoulders a container. I thought I'd leave that up to you, Peak. They flinch. Are you serious, Ash? I know we said we'd help the flotilla, but at what point? They stop. Take a breath. Take this seriously, Ash. I don't know the first thing about breaching a quarantine cordon. Maybe not. Ash looks at you. But they might. They slipped out from an S&R facility, didn't they? Plus, they've been here longer than us. You were always trying to get me to find help. Well, here it is. She gestures at you. Help. Peak glances between the two of you. I swear that they sigh. I need to think this one through. Meet me at the cordon in a couple of cycles, Sleeper. Maybe we can figure something out. Meanwhile, Ash meets your eye. You can help me acquire the supplies. Discreetly. She smiles. We have to keep this quiet. Keep Havenage out of the loop. Once they get suspicious, this is over for all of us. This all suddenly seems a little too real. Too dangerous. You've only just found your feet on the eye. This is not a time for causing trouble. Come find us. We'll be out there trying to pull this all together. Ash goes to the back of the hold to start packing another container. Peak, come help me. Peak glances back at her. Sleeper, look. We didn't choose this either. They lower their voice. Help us finish this. We've set up a base camp on the Broken Spoke. You are welcome to rest there in any of the cots while we work on this. They smile. We are in this together. Peak! Ash shouts, and they walk back into the hold to help with the container. As you leave the climbing briar, you look out at the broken edge of the eye's ring, where Havenage's cordons blinks with tiny red lines. What are you getting yourself into? Right, so we've now got the base camp. We don't need that just yet. Okay, so they need 8 scrap. And Briar's Hold. Okay. Oh, we need to put 8 in total. Okay. That's the cordon. Can't do anything there. The wastes. Okay, the algae stack. Okay, so we've got a +2. It's risky. Okay. Oh, and there's the reservoir as well. Okay. Okay. When does that... We've got 4 cycles before they're back. Okay. Right then. We've done that, so we can end the cycle. Oh, that's good. Right, so no, the algae stacks. Nice. And the reservoir. No, can't do that. There we go. See, that's part of the problem we've got at the moment. Although, yeah, because we need the scrap. Okay. And we're now out of scrap. As you leave, you find a note pinned on the outside of the door. It reads, "Sleeper, there's something you need to see. Meet me at the cordon as soon as you can. Just keep heading around the ring until you hit the flotilla. I'll be waiting. Peek." You pocket the note and glance around the corridor. Looks like you're doing this. Time to make a plan. Okay. And Keita's still there. Okay. No. Right. So, right. Let's do that. The algae stacks. There we go, that's the algae stacks. The wastes. Wait. No, we're gonna need food, aren't we? Okay. And again. Because the problem we've got is we need at least all we oh, complete active scenes. Okay. We can't put any scrap in, even though we've got 2. Okay. Sleeper. Peek catches your attention from the shadowy corner they were leaning against. Any trouble getting up here? This place is huge. It certainly is. Haven, you've been busy. Come take a look at this. They beckon you over to a nearby window which looks across the ruined ring of the blinking red lights of the Havenage cordon. The cordon's temporary structures, a net of metal struts meant to detect and dissuade any ships from entering or leaving the flotilla, jut out into the black, and all around the tugs flit, securing them in place, tending to the red blinking drones that demand the quarantine. It's an impressive and worrying sight. What do you think? Peak interrupts your thoughts. How would you get us through? Use one of the tugs? As an escort, you mean? I doubt we could fit all the supplies on one of those tugs. But if it seemed like the Briar was being officially escorted through the cordon, Peak squints at the red lights, but then we'd be stuck inside. Peak turns away from the window and rubs their forehead. Ash has really wrapped us up in something here, hasn't she? The question is spoken under their breath, and they don't seem to expect an answer at the sight of Gross. Are there other options? If you've got them, I'm happy to hear them. Peak smiles. The way I see it, there are 3 parts to making it through that cordon. They gesture out the window at the strange structure. Deception, distraction, and speed. We'll need all of them for a clean passage through. Deception means tricking the cordon security into thinking that we are meant to be there. Maybe a tug escort would work. Anything that makes the Briar look official. Distraction, meanwhile, would be all about diverting attention so that no one looks too hard at what the Briar is doing. If we can create a gap in the cordon's scanning and deterrent systems, that should keep them busy. Finally, speed will be making sure the Briar is ready to roll. Perhaps we can do a little work on the ship to get her ready. Esh surely wouldn't mind. They lean back from the window. How does that sound? Excellent. Pete grins. Don't get too excited. There's a lot to get sorted before we make the run. Pete looks down at their slate. 10 cycles left. They glance out the window at the cordon nervously. 10 cycles to gather the supplies and to prep this plan. It's tight. Very tight. Pete looks at you. If this goes wrong, Pete sighs. Just get out, okay? They squeeze your shoulder. I'll follow Ash anywhere, but you don't need to get dragged down with us. It won't come to that. Peak brightens up a little, of course, but just keep it in mind. Let's get to it. Peak stretches. I'll tell Ash about the improvements to the Briar, and the rest. Let's explore the cordon as best we can and look for openings. I have no idea what guardian angel sent you to us, Sleeper, Peak smiles, but I'm very glad they did. Okay, so we've got the cordon. Okay, where's our edge? Okay. Okay. Right then. Right. I think we're going to drop down to the 4 dice. It's not ideal given the situation we're in. And we've got the money, so we're going to buy food for energy. Okay, the algae stack. Okay. Right, the algae in the stack. Okay. So if we put the 3 in there, and the 4 in there, okay. And then gather scrap. So that leaves us another 5 scrap. But we can get 3 in the next cycle. Okay. Feed the stray. There's a lot to do. Okay. Right. Come down here. And we can buy 3 scrap. which hopefully won't give us. Cool. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Not that one. Okay. I'm gonna rest. End the cycle. We're almost there with the well. What have we got dice wise? Not great. Okay. So let's go that. That gives us the 8. Okay. So we can give them that. You look over at the pile of scrap components lying in the briar. You look around. The bay is empty. Ash and Peak either elsewhere on the station or on the bridge or a couple of levels up. You begin sorting through the pile, separating out useful components and boxing them by use. You don't recognise everything you find, but before long you get into the rhythm of sorting. As you do, your mind starts to drift, your attention being drawn into the dark corners of the bay. The briar is in surprisingly good condition, considering that Hawthorne and XPR must have been operating it for decades by now. The marks of care are everywhere, from the delicate patch jobs polished to meld into the original finish, or the carefully bound wiring running through the custom trunking. Ash loves this ship, that much is clear. Something catches your eye in one of the dark corners, a matte black stack of crates you hadn't spotted before. They are sleek and compact, tucked away behind some of the bigger, more worn containers. You put the containers out of your mind and focus on the sorting process. This is Ash's ship, and she wouldn't appreciate you rooting around in it. You hear a hiss, and Ash comes up through the bay's lock. She barely registers your presence, nodding at you as she passes. Sleeper. She busies herself with some task at the back of the bay. Ash doesn't turn around from whatever she's busy with. Just more supplies, Sleeper, like everything else here. You can't think of anything else to ask, but sense that the atmosphere has now somehow shifted. You quickly finish up the sorting and slip out, waving goodbye to her back as you do. Okay. The Platility's food boards. Okay, so we've done one of those. What can we do here? Cordon Intel. Let's put that in. Okay, that's just the one. Okay. Not great. Okay. End the cycle. Not great. Ooh, that was though. Oh, yes, we can speak to Riku and the algae stack. Yes. You were leaning against the metal crates you just loaded up with algae, packed and dried into green bright green pucks. Ash hops onto one beside you, flexing her arching back. Is this enough? Ash squints at you, as if you've just interrupted her train of thought. It's a look you have become familiar with. It doesn't matter either way, this is what we've got, she sighs, rubbing the back of her neck. In these past cycles, working the algae stack with Ash, you've had a little insight into her mind. She rarely seems happy to start a conversation, but is always eager to end one. Despite this, you feel like something has grown between you. Something like silent trust. The kind that tends to seed itself in the fertile soil of hard but necessary work. Concerned? Ash laughs. You could say that. She turns to face you. I think I'd be stupid not to be concerned about all of this. She's right, of course, though. It's hard to focus your concerns on one thing in particular. Can the refugees survive on the flotilla? What a Haven is doing to help them? If the quarantine is lifted, is the Eye really in danger? Each worry is far too large to even begin to process, to judge, and they mesh with other, more personal worries until you feel the anxiety growing in your chest. You look at Ash and are suddenly eager to speak, to talk about something, anything, other than just sitting and feeling this growing weight. Why help the flotilla? Ash pauses, her protective instinct fighting with the trust you've built. You can see her begin to shrug the question off, then she stops, rethinks, sighs. What you need to understand, Sleeper, is that Erlin's Eye wasn't the only place where the Solheim collapse happened. Sure, Hawthorne, where we grew up, was an XPR installation, but that didn't screen it from Solheim going under. Actually, Solheim was the only reason XPR was ever here. She pauses, hesitant to get into the whole story, but wanting to offer something. She flinches, correcting herself. They're a service corps, you understand. They set up outposts and surrogate systems like this to offer refueling, logistics and maintenance services to bigger companies with extraction contracts. She gestures, to the eye around her, like Solheim. When Solheim went bust, XPR lost their client, and Hawthorne, well, we lost everything. We became an outpost tasked with just holding on. Keep the refueling platforms running, they said. Keep the outpost stable. Hold on to our claim. She rubs her head, as if recalling all this was somehow physically painful. Do you know what it's like to spend your entire life in a place with no future? A place that only exists only to hold a legal claim to a piece of territory? To shore up breach of contract negotiations between two corporations? It's like living in a... She searches for the word, her eyes jumping back and forth. In a grave, she clenches her hands. So if you're looking for the answers to why questions, that's your answer. We, Peak and I, know that it's like what it's like to be forgotten, to be locked out. She stares hard at the side of the stack, the algae whirling against the glass in beautiful patterns, and she doesn't look away. The silence extends and you realise the conversation is over. Ash seems angry, not at you, but with herself for even voicing such ideas. After a while, you stand and start to load the crates onto the powered cargo trolley that Ash will run back to the Briar. As you do, you try to catch her eye, but she avoids it, soothing herself instead with the comforting simplicity of physical work. Okay. Right. Can we get this? We can. Tucked into a service corridor deep below the reservoir, Ash is double-checking the seals on the water tanks loaded onto the motorised trolley. Though you are far enough away from any thoroughfares not to worry about being overheard, you still both speak in hushed tones. All good? Ash nods silently and hits the ignition on the trolley to start it moving. You take the other side of the trolley and walk it up the wide service corridor. With its flickering lights and Solheim detritus, you doubt it gets used by Havenage. At least that's the hope. You glance across at Ash, her face a mask of determination as she guides the trolley along. Maybe some conversation will make this journey go a little easier. How did you meet Peak? Ash pauses, a little surprised by your question. She glances back down the tunnel, but in this deserted passage she can hardly keep up the pretense of silence. We grew up together, she answers quickly and turns back to the trolley, but she can tell you are expecting her to add more. She seems to gather herself for an answer, not wanting to ignore you, but trying instead to get her answer straight in her head. Our outpost, Hawthorne, it's not an easy place to grow up. The administrators keep a tight hold of everything. She rolls her eyes. Even though they're trapped in the same decaying installation as everyone else. Peak? She pauses. Peak found it harder than most. She pauses again, judging her words. I stepped in to help them out. Silence descends again, but you can feel the wheels turning in Ash's mind as the creaking wheels of the trolley take you along the corridor. Peak isn't the most practical of people. They used to be, well, they needed someone to teach them to look after themselves, stand up for themselves. That was me, she smiles. After that, I couldn't get rid of them. Ash stops talking, but you see her eyes have lit up, and you imagine she is recalling some moment or other from her and Peak's past. You both reach a wide bulkhead doorway, and have to stop to shimmy the trolley through the edge. When you're done, Ash turns to you. I'm good from here, head back. And with that, she's gone, moving off into the dark tunnel ahead. You watch her go and then turn around and walk the distance back to the staircase you entered from, the tunnel humming around you as you do. As you walk, you try to piece together Ash's past, but all you have are glimpses of a person she once was. She seems to prefer it that way. We've got an upgrade point. But that is all we've got time for. So, thank you for hanging out. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, ticking the bell so you know when new videos go live. In the description is a link to the channel Discord. Feel free to come and talk about the games you're playing, the games I'm playing, games in general, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!